G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a heavy incinerator. This is one of the new Creation Club weapons released in March of 2019. If you'd like to see the quest to actually acquire this weapon, I'll have a link to that. This video is going to be, however, a analysis slash review of this weapon's performance and viability in an endgame state on very hard difficulty. So what you have here is basically a flamer. It uses the flamer animations. As you can tell, there's the propellant tank, or the fuel tank there, I should say. And yeah, it fires big old explosive projectiles of the fiery variety like it did back in Fallout 3 in New Vegas, but with a little bit of a twist. So before we get into too much gameplay, let's go ahead and get into the attachments. So for the canisters here, you can actually put the napalm canisters on, which will add those tanks and pipes there, which will lead into the mixing chamber. I don't really know how this thing works. I guess the developers don't even know. It looks cool though, and that's definitely a thing that you could see back on the old Fallout 3 and New Vegas variants of this weapon. So yeah, a lot of these customizations are just like giving it its look that it did have in those games, which is good. And a big old long barrel there if you need to compensate for something, but that'll give you the best damage, so there's no reason not to chuck that on. And of course you can put on an incinerator shield. Now I believe the shield is sitting there on the side, but if it's not, you chuck that on. Yeah, it actually goes... oh, there's two of them there. There's two shields there. You know what? That's fine. That's more safety. And what actually that allows you to do is actually makes you immune to being set on fire, which is great that this like whole bullet shield has function. Obviously, bullets coming in, you don't want them to like hit your flame and make it explode in your hands, exploding you in the process. You actually want the bullets or projectiles to be hitting this plate here of pretty thick metal and bouncing like off. Bullets are very bouncy, so I'm guessing most of the bullets will come in like this and then bounce towards the ground, which is very good for safety of the user and people around him. Going over to the ported nozzle will give us reduced rate of fire, but only by 2, which is not all that much, but you get a little bit better damage out of it, which is good. And you can change the standard propellant tank to a large propellant tank. Interestingly, this changes the fuel canister to red, which is a little bit clashing. It doesn't really work, but I kind of like having that little bit of extra color there. And if you're really not keen on seeing that, I guess I could make a little patch that just uses the same propellant tank mesh and texture here than it does here, so you could have this thing fully gunmetal grey. But that's what it looks like when fully modded up. I actually really like the look of this weapon. I really think it's a nice reimagining of what this weapon would look like in the overhauled visual style of Fallout 4, so really good job on that. Alright, so here we are in Smoggy Plaza apparently, and this is what our incinerator looks like in first person. Like I said before, using the flame animation, so aiming down sights will sort of give you a little bit of a zoom in and center up the weapon. You sort of have to calculate the dropping of the weapon as it sort of fires, because it's not like it was back in Fallout 3 in New Vegas. We'll get to more of the differences later, but first of all, this is what it looks like in third person. It's a pretty sizable weapon, makes it look really good in power armor, but you can still carry it around just fine without power armor. You do get a little bit of a movement penalty though, so there is merit to using it with power armor. Anyways, so moving on to the actual performance of this thing. So unlike this being a high rate of fire flame weapon, it's actually a low rate of fire, high damage sort of weapon now. So it fires these kind of like grenade-like projectiles in pretty big arcs, by the way. The weapon has limited range, and I'm going to fall down here, so we'll have to get those guys with lobbing the projectiles over there, so that'll be interesting. But yes, unlike the flamer, it's a high rate of fire, or low rate of fire, high damage weapon, which makes it a little bit diverse feeling, because obviously the flamer is a low damage, high rate of fire thing. This is a nice little, what's it called, a contrast to it. And you can sort of arc it around corners and stuff if you do that, or arc it over cover, which is pretty good. But as you can tell, getting it up here is a little bit problematic. I might have just killed someone by doing that. Yep, that's everyone cleared out so far. That turret. Do you reckon I could get that turret from here? No, we can't. Also, it's very easy to kill yourself with this weapon, so be on the lookout for that. And there's the reload animation. So, yep, basically a flamer reskin, but it works a lot differently. It feels a lot different, so that's pretty good. This thing sounds okay, I suppose. I'll let you give it a listen. Yeah, sounds alright, but one thing I'm sort of curious of is how this thing does in VATS, especially when you're obviously out of range. Is that just gonna... okay, so it's obviously going to hit the roof as I angle it up there, so the turret just randomly blows up, because the game can't comprehend a critical not hitting. Unless it's like that, it'll just cancel itself out. So, yeah, there we go. Luckily, we sent the person standing next to it into space, but I'm just going to stand back a little bit and make sure we aren't killed by our own weapon here. The cover mechanics still work for heavy weapons. I miss this in Fallout 76. It'd actually be kind of useful, I think. Although they'd have to make animations for it. There we go. So, your range is very limited, but no more limited than it would be with a flamer. So, really, honestly, it's a cut above, especially with the increased weapon, you know, not weapon usage, ammo usage, because I'm only using one flamer few per shot of this, which is actually kind of insane. Let's go ahead and hit more shots in VATS there. Missed a couple. Concentrated fire will bring us back on target, and now she's in there. So let's just lob those around the corner and keep on firing and give her a fiery death. Brutal. Alright, we'll move on to this next section in here, and hopefully we don't have to actually step in this room to kill him. We can just lob him over in that direction. I think that was a direct hit. So yes, playing on very hard difficulty here, I'm having no trouble with the damage at all. This thing is honestly hitting harder than a lot of the other Creation Club stuff has, but again, this is an everything build, so I do have my perks stacked absolutely everywhere, so that might be why it's doing so well. You have to invest in a few perks to actually get this working super well, but regardless of that, it's been a fun weapon to use, and actually it's a high quality product. This is not something that I have to patch from being shit. Whoever was in charge of making this thing's damage actually did a pretty good job on doing that. Also, that projectile exploded right before me, so now I'm in nerd rage mode, so this would be a one-shot kill. Yep. The projectiles go homing, and sometimes they get glitchy when you crit stuff in VATS. Okay, you're a problem. You need to die. In comes the thing of death, where we've killed that. Let's just bounce some projectiles around this particular corner. Not quite close enough to that turret, but if we go around here, there we go. And we are clear. Most of the damage was probably done by the Incinerator itself, so be on the lookout for, you know, damaging yourself when you're using this thing. But all in all, a pretty solid weapon first off. This thing is actually holding up pretty nicely, and on very hard difficulty too, which is kind of cool. Alrighty, so here we are in Moody's place. Not as crazy as the Moody place in Fallout 76, but more importantly, we've got ourselves some motherfucking power armor. Yep. Hellfire power armor, because it, you know, it just works. I mean, you saw the Hellfire dudes in Enclave and Fallout 3 carry this weapon, so I thought it would match. Also, we've got some life sign scanner things or whatever going on here. So how do we do against tankier super mutants? We can kill them very, very easily. In fact, we can put them in that incinerated state when they die, I think. I heard him take that. Oh, you got a fortifying combat armor. No, thank you. But yeah, this thing is strong enough to even take down Super Mutant Warlords, which, for the record, are tanky bastards in Fallout 4, especially on very hard difficulty. Very, very easily indeed. So we'll just go ahead and shoot these guys with that. We've got ourselves a jetpack if we get ourselves into too much trouble, but generally these super mutants like to sit and stand there whilst you shoot at them, which is nice and convenient. The doggos, however, they run up to you because they got no other attacks. Oh, it's a minigun. Yeah, they didn't add balls to that gun until like 4 years later, Super Mutant. So you're ahead of your time, but not in the way that it counts. Anyways, so bouncing splash damage between those guys should be easy enough, and what happened there is I fired it and the projectiles landed like right in front of me on that rail there, so I didn't get any of those hits off, and I lost about 60% of health because of it, so oops. So whatever. We'll just go ahead and take out these super mutants one by one then. Unfortunately, we couldn't show off the splash damage of this, but there you go, there's a little bit of ranged combat with that. Probably about the maximum, and obviously I was able to take him out a little bit easier since I had the high ground there, so using Obi-Wan's tactics of combat, they've served us well. Didn't serve that guy well though. That was like a Darth Maul situation of high ground, where it doesn't matter how high he was standing above Obi-Wan, he got fucking killed anyway. Speaking of Star Wars, no, I'll move back on to Fallout. So I actually really like the design of this weapon. I like all of the dials and all of the stuff. Unfortunately, it doesn't move. But on that bullet shield there, that flame shield, that's actually really cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you any more sort of protection from bullets or incoming things from from the enemies firing themselves, but having the immunity to flame is something, I guess. Like, if I was to make any changes to this, I'd probably make, like, an enhanced ballistic shield or something that will give you, like, I don't know, something small like 20 and 20 damage and energy resistance. I feel like that would be a nice little addition to it, just something a little bit extra, just to protect you. And where are the doggos, by the way? They usually spawn in by now. And maybe I'd make like a whole different firing system where it fires just like it did back in Fallout 3 in New Vegas. So you'd have like a heavy version and then like a light projectile version, so you can fucking snipe with it across the map just by shooting it. I feel like that'd be cool. And also make it automatic, because this thing is semi-auto, so you know, little changes here and there, but overall this thing is actually kicking a lot of ass, so yeah, pretty good. We'll move on to a monster and I think I'll call it there. Okay, so there's a little bit of a situation here. Apparently Gojira wants to take on the Wendigo before I get to him, so it's like the players in Fallout 76 trying to take on the ghouls when I'm in there and taking them. It's not as annoying though, because I can just uninstall Diablos, but I'm going to keep him around because he amuses me. So yep, we're going to be flying around with our jetpack and hopefully dodging the attacks. Well, we only did 10% damage with that. Yeah, power armor makes you so tanky, doesn't it? Anyways, so whilst that dude is flying away, we'll probably just crit him. There's a Diablos over there. We'll go for a crit against him. And 2 headshots for you. So this thing, probably not the best thing. Oh, that's bright. Not the best weapon to use in VATS. So we only get 4 shots. And obviously, with that, oh, that homing ability makes him go weird in VATS. Yes. Not the best VATS weapon. And yeah. Alright, so we gotta get out here, make sure we don't get ourselves wrecked by this ghoul. And yeah, since the projectiles are a lobber homing projectile, it'll turn homing when you get a critical. Sometimes the trajectory of it goes a little bit spastic when you, oh, wrecked him. Yeah, when you fire it at a target that is a little bit too close. The bullets just sort of wiggle around and then gravity eventually takes them down, which is kind of odd. But as you can tell, I'm having no trouble with the damage. I'm pretty sure I'm staggering him a lot too, which is excellent. But in terms of real life, normal game situations, you'll never be facing this guy. This is only meant for a demonstration on what this weapon can do, honestly. Let's get those criticals on his face just to guarantee those hits. There it is, spazzing out again. Finally got him though, so doing pretty good. Just got to make sure we hit him in the right spot or just around him so we can actually get those hits in so he can hit us there. Ooh, he actually knocked out an arm there. He hits that hard that he just fucking rips your arms right off, which is pretty scary. I would expect him to do something like that because he's a tough bastard. We'll just quickly jetpack above him so he can't hit us there. If we're playing Fallout 76, he definitely would have hit us because netcode in this game. Whoops. Looks like he's decided to take on the synth version. Wow, this mod's old, isn't it? I created that ages ago. But we'll go ahead and kill both of them, considering they're both in the explosive radius. We'll go for the synth. You know what, let's go for both. We'll just get a critical on the synth, and then what will happen is, hopefully, splash damage will bounce from both. There we go. Ghoul is dead, and now the synth is dead. And we're done, and I need to repair my power armor, apparently. So, there you have it. Let's make some crab sticks, actually. Fuck these crabs. Get out of here. Ugh. Still haven't learned the drop on the projectiles quite as much as I like. Also, the game doesn't have level scaling lobs dudes anymore. These guys are missing from the endgame loot guys of Fallout 76. Anyways, I digress. So that there was the Creation Club. I'm going to put the camera over here so you can't see the broken arm. The Creation Club Heavy Incinerator. It was actually a ton of fun to use. So if you'd like to see this thing in your game, you go buy it for yourself. Unfortunately, the price is like $4, I think, which is, I think that's equivalent to what the other Creation Club items have been. So it's not too bad. But yeah, maybe you want to wait for this to go on sale. And if you have any suggestions for a patch that I might do on this thing, be sure to let me know. Thank you very much for watching, guys.